What's next?
Communication. Would you say that you are blunt in the way that you come across to others, or that you are careful in how you come across in your communication to others?
Mostly blunt. But I vary.
Okay.
Depending on different situations.
Okay. Depending on what kind of situations? The person you're talking to, or the amount of time you have, or all the above?
Definitely. Like the relationship I have with the person.
Yeah.
Yes, the amount of time we have to have the conversation. How much I am comfortable with the subject. If I feel that I don't know enough, I'm much more careful. And I mean, how much sleep I got last night probably plays into it too, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, and that's probably good. I think, and that makes sense, right? Like we kind of, depending upon the moment and what we're doing and who we're working with, that's going to dictate.
What about you?
Yeah, I would say across time, usually very careful.
Yeah.
And not very blunt. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. And I think it somewhat comes back to this tendency to be introverted, and maybe those components of introversion that are about, I really want to think through every little detail internally first before I vocalize. And if I'm blunt, it's only because I've already done all this analysis and already really thought about this, and I definitely think this is the right thing to do. Then I'm potentially going to be blunt in how I come across, and very forceful, and like, this is why I think this is the right thing to do.
Right.
But for the most part, in the moment, I think I'm very careful and maybe defer because I'm not as comfortable in the moment. People that are blunt in their communications sometimes can be perceived both good and bad. It's good in that, getting back to the sense of confidence, and they're willing to say what's on their mind, but it can also come across as maybe a little brash and not necessarily as respectful in some situations, depending upon how it comes across. And those that are careful, I think it almost has a sense of like political savvy in there, of they've really thought through the best way to say it or what not to say in certain circumstances, because of the people involved and because of the different perspectives people might have, but they also might miss their moment. And a lot of things probably end up not getting said because they're being almost too careful, and people aren't picking up on what they actually meant.
Does this have anything to do with the speed at which you communicate? Like taking time to think first, or is it not so much about that? I
think that's probably part of it. I think that those that are blunt might not need as much time to really process it, but I think you can still have it either way, right?
So you could speak fast, but kind of beat around the bush.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a 2x2. You can picture them all, but you're more likely to be blunt and in the moment.
And do we need both?
I think so. I think all of us probably tend to do one or the other in general, right? So anytime you're looking at a trait, it's consistency in a certain behavior across time and space. Essentially, that's the definition of a trait. Like, this is your behavioral tendency no matter where you are, right? No matter if I'm in a meeting talking in a one-on-one versus giving a presentation or hanging out with my family, right? That's a trait. And it's probably going to be the same today that it is 10 years from now, 20 years from now, etc. In the way that we choose to communicate, I do think that there's some traits that kind of are the framework that dictate how we're going to communicate. And that tends to be relatively consistent. The challenge then becomes breaking out of that general pattern when the time is right. Like you started with. That's kind of why I started with that question. Because you know what your tendencies are, but you're also aware enough to know, this person needs me to communicate in this specific way. This situation dictates that. That's hard because you're essentially breaking form.
And you're like, pause myself. Pause my gut instinct. Go outside of what I'm comfortable with.
Which is easier said than done a lot of times. Yes.
So takeaway on this one is, it's important to know where you fall and pay attention to where other people fall so that you can flex to the situation.
That's right. Exactly. It's perfect.